He has plenty of policy wins on his resume, including a pro-life Florida heartbeat law. He's quick to point out how that distinguishes him from the former president, President Trump.
While I appreciate what the former president has done in a variety of realms, he opposes that bill. He said it was, quote, harsh to protect an unborn child when there's a detectable heartbeat. I think that's humane to do.
He thinks it's quite humane. Ron DeSantis is trying to find a new approach, some way to get in and maybe dig into that deficit he's got against Donald Trump when it comes to these primaries, despite the fact that he's going through all these legal issues, which look pretty damning. But Ron DeSantis there is trying to find this angle. Maybe it's about abortion. Maybe Donald Trump is a little bit too soft. Where's the differentiation? We'll try and figure it out. He was on an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and again, he was talking about abortion. Let's look at what some of these things were, because Donald Trump said this. If you look at what DeSantis did, a lot of people don't even know if he knew what he was doing. But he signed 6 weeks, and many people within the pro-life movement feel that that was too harsh. That was from Donald Trump. DeSantis didn't like that approach because he's like, wait a second, pro-life movement? Hold on, I've got some verifiable numbers from Ron DeSantis. He says protecting an unborn child when there's a detectable heartbeat is something that almost 99% of pro-lifers support. And as a Florida resident, you know, he didn't give an answer about, would you have signed the heartbeat bill that Florida did that had all the exceptions that people talk about? So now it's he said versus he said. One said the majority of pro-lifers are against this, are confused and don't really want this fetal heartbeat type of bill. But Ron DeSantis says 99%. It's all over the place. So one more time though, the 6-week pregnancy heartbeat that they're talking about is actually a fetal cardiac activity. That's a scientific term from people who know what they're talking about rather than just political speak from these folks. But DeSantis did double down though on this whole sentiment, and he really wants to drive that point home. Donald Trump has gone pro-choice. Watch more.
Do you feel the former president's going soft then on abortion a little bit, especially in this area that you mentioned?
Well, I think so. I mean, I was really surprised because he's a Florida resident, and I thought he would compliment the fact, you know, that we were able to do the heartbeat bill, which pro-lifers have wanted for a long time. He never complimented, never said anything about it. Then he was asked about it, and he said it was, quote, harsh.
So before we get to some of the numbers on where Americans feel about this, there's something that I kind of noticed there. So he wants to point out, he has this weird sarcastic tone, or it's just his regular tone. If you're gonna come after maybe your political opponents that's very close to you on political agenda items like this, that you push to so many of your followers as he tries to adopt the MAGA movement, you have to either be sarcastic or you have to act like you're being sincere. So that he was somewhere in the middle. He's like, well, I mean, if he wants to be soft on abortion rights and soft on that and go with the Democrats, then I guess he's there. It makes me, if I'm a supporter of his, wonder, wait, is he joking? Did Trump not say this, or did he say it and you're against it? There was a weird twinge there.
Yeah, Chair, I actually thought the same thing. I thought that the audio, when I read the comments, I didn't think it was weird. But when I heard the audio, I was like, wait, what's he doing, right? And I think what it is that he's nervous. And he's like, you would think as a Florida resident, you would know, right? What am I doing? Does anybody know why I'm talking like this?
Not at all.
So, okay, so that's one part of it. Second thing I noticed when I first read the transcript of the interview was how often he said pro-lifers. He's like, pro-lifers should be happy about that. What do you mean should be? Aren't you a pro-lifer? It was kind of telling how he kept referring to that community as the pro-lifers, a community he's not in. Like I never say the pro-choicers, right?
Those guys.
Like I'm not like, hey man, I said this on air. Shouldn't the pro-choicers be happy already? Because I'm a pro-choicer, okay? Like, so that was also telling to me. He's obviously doing it for political reasons. But of course, the core of the issue is who comes out ahead on this. I think Trump said that it was too harsh because he's probably getting political advice that it's not polling well at all. And that if you agree with the so-called heartbeat bill that ends pregnancies that does not allow you to end pregnancies even super early on, that you're not gonna get elected in a general election. But DeSantis is calculating, well, we're not in the general election yet. We're in the primaries, and maybe I could pick up some votes from evangelicals and those rascally pro-lifers if I pretend to be on their side more than Trump is. And I don't know who wins that calculation. I think it's a good question. DeSantis should win that. He is more right-wing than Trump on that issue. On the other hand, MAGA doesn't really care about facts, so I don't know that it matters at all. But okay, Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, the cult of MAGA will stay with Trump no matter what. And it's true that Trump is, I think, undeniably a more charismatic figure. But DeSantis has chosen this hard right position, and he's looking for issues like this one to go extreme right of Trump. And the other thing that's interesting is this battle over a policy, if you want to call it that. I mean, in this case, it is policy, right? It's unusual these days. People don't really vote on policy, but this is an issue that does galvanize opinion. And the last thing I would say is that he knows his audience. I mean, to preach at the CBN network, or if that's what they are, that Christian network that he was doing the interview for him to preach, an earlier time for this legislation to essentially take effect. In other words, the earlier time within the pregnancy, you have a friendly room to receive that message. But in a general election, it is true, to Cenk's point, he was pointing out to the Trump calculus, it doesn't poll well. I mean, you don't need polls to see it. You can see it in the last election. I mean, this Roe v. Wade move is going to haunt them. And so while you can move right, and I'm talking about obviously the overturning of Roe v. Wade, while you can move right in your dialogue to try to win primaries, finding your way back to a middle and finding your way back to independent voters to win a general election, I think that's going to be a bridge too far. But as Cenk says, this strategy of moving far right of Trump may work on this issue.
Well, I mean, Ron DeSantis is talking a lot about who can win, who cannot win. That's been his main focus so far. So really fast, you guys are talking about polls. Let's run through these really quickly, because this is what these Gallup polls are showing now as far as Americans, not just this primary of a bunch of MAGA folks. A record high 69% of Americans say abortion should generally be legal in the first 3 months of pregnancy, first 3 months. A prior high of 67% was recorded last May after SCOTUS's Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization draft was leaked, showing that the court planned to nullify that constitutional protection for abortion. So even among Republicans, though, since we're talking primary, 47% believe abortion should be legal for the first 3 months of pregnancy. So yes, fewer than the majority, but 47%. So Gallup's oldest trend on the legality of abortion finds 34% of Americans believe abortion should be legal under any circumstances, above the 27% average since 1975. And another 51% currently say abortion should be legal under certain circumstances, while 13% want it illegal in all circumstances. 13%, that's who they're pandering towards. And also that's down from 21%. That continues to drop. So what they were worried about when the SCOTUS decision was leaked last year, and then they were like, oh man, it's gonna mess up the midterms, and now we're worried about this and that. Maybe it did kind of mess up the midterms, but then also, where are you gonna go from here? Will they take those lessons? Who knows? One more piece here, you guys. 52% of Americans say abortion is morally acceptable. That matches last year's all-time high. It's 10 percentage points above the historical average since 2001. But one more clip here, because Ron DeSantis is really trying to dig in with this particular evangelical audience to point out, hey, you guys, it's me. But can you figure out who he is? Watch.
So we need more God in society today.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's certain problems, economic problems, there's problems at the border, there's all very important. But why are we here? Why are we free people? We're free because God has endowed us with inalienable rights. That's why America was founded.
While DeSantis wants to spread that message today, looking back in history, he told us of another message that would have been great to witness.
Could I have been there with Jesus's disciples? I mean, these are people who, Peter's just fishing one day, and all of a sudden, this guy comes up to him, catches all the fish and says, you're gonna be fisher, I want you to be a fisher of men, come with me. And so these guys all went out and they dedicated their life to spreading the gospel. I look back at that and would love to have been able to be there with them.
Can you imagine a candidate for president, you guys, running and then quoting stuff from the Quran and saying, this is how we're gonna live our lives, and this way we're gonna approach it, and everybody goes, yeah, good job, yeah, exactly, that's our guy. Yeah,
I mean, look, two quick things on that. Ron DeSantis was a disciple of Donald Trump. So how did that turn out? So Jesus, if I was you, I'd watch your back. Okay. And JR's not wrong. I mean, if he came in and said, oh, imagine if I was there when the Prophet Muhammad had landed. and he told us of the greatness of Allah, and I would have been his disciple happily. And obviously that would be the end of Ron DeSantis' career in America, and we would move on. And so that kind of irony is barely ever noted. I'm glad JR pointed it out. Last two quick things. They call it a heartbeat bill. I don't want anybody to get confused. There ain't no heartbeat there because there is no heart in the first 3 months, not even close. The heart has not formed. They're just lying as usual, okay? And then finally, this might be a lose-lose for DeSantis, because he's trying to get to the right of Donald Trump to win over those Republican and MAGA voters, which he probably is not going to be able to do in the primary. But if he does somehow get past it because Donald Trump's in jail or something else like that, well, then he burned his general election bridges with 69% of Americans trying to outright wing Donald Trump in the primary. So I think it's a loss for him in the primary and the general election. So happy to see it. Mark, last.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I made. He'll never get those independent voters, even if he were to end up top of ticket on the GOP side. Yeah, he is, of course, Cenk says it, I think, in a better way. He's burning that bridge. So indeed, well said.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.